What is going on, everybody? I am the FD Guru, bringing to you guys a Week 8 NFL main slate video. We have 13 games on the main slate for Sunday, 9 games in the early window, 4 games in the afternoon window. It's a pretty decent looking slate. There's not a lot of high over-unders as we've seen so far this year. There haven't been many games where we see an over-under over 50 points. A lot of the games range from like 42 to 46 points, which isn't bad. We got some good matchups. As usual, I'm giving you guys 5 plays that I like, one for each position. And I'm doing another Guru Credit giveaway here, 15 credits for all of you guys. I'll be giving you that code on my website after the first couple of my plays, as I usually do. I just ask for you to like this video and subscribe for all future videos. We've, kind of turned the page a little bit on NFL. Had a little bit of a sluggish start to the year, but things have been going our way for the most part over the last few weeks. So let's get to it here. At quarterback, I'm going to go to a guy who did not let me down last week and has an even better matchup this week. The Ravens absolutely dismantled the Lions. He probably could have scored more. Lamar Jackson, 8,800 with a fantastic matchup against the Cardinals. Cardinals have one of the worst ranked defenses in the league. Let's see here. The Ravens, when do they play? Oh, they play in the 4 o'clock window. The Ravens are -8 in a 44.5 over-under. So, they're towards the top of the list for highest team point totals for Sunday. Jackson at 8,800 looks great. He could easily be the highest scoring player on the slate like he was last week. 33.88 fantasy points. Did anything he wanted against the Lions defense, who hasn't been that bad, honestly. But the Ravens offense, they've caught fire. They're hot. They couldn't have a better matchup going into Sunday with their hot streak against the Cardinals in Arizona. Let's just hope that they're not up, 35-7 like they were against the Lions, so that, they can rely more on Lamar Jackson. For a guy who can throw it and run it, this Cardinals defense is going to be in shambles trying to figure him out. I like him as a spend up at 8,800. If you wanted to get a little cheaper, CJ Stroud doesn't look bad against the poorly ranked Carolina defense at 7,400. Stroud has been the best looking rookie so far, and it's not really a debate. And then you have your $6,500 Matthew Stafford. A tougher matchup in Dallas, but it's Matthew Stafford. He usually gets you a touchdown or two and gets you over 13 fantasy points every week. At 6,500, you can save a lot of money there. Again, it's not a good matchup, but if you did want to go cheaper at quarterback, he is not a bad option at that price. For running back, my favorite play here this week is Tony Pollard. For a lot of reasons, his price has now fallen to 7,600. This is a nice buy low spot in Week 8 on Tony Pollard. This game script is fantastic for him in Dallas against a pretty bad Rams defense, 20th ranked against the rush. We have a 45.5 over-under, and the Cowboys are favorited 6.5 points. So this game, should fall into Tony Pollard's hands. They should run the ball more. He's been receiving the ball more. 5 targets 2 weeks ago and 7 targets a week ago. He had 8 targets in week 2. So Pollard, with a couple of tough weeks in there, he looked good last week. 15 rushes, only 30 yards though, but he had a lot of receiving yards. And then he was great in the first 3 weeks of the season. I like Tony Pollard at this price. He should be like 8,600, honestly, in this matchup at home against the Rams. He is, by a pretty wide margin, my favorite running back value play at under 8,000, because he could easily be the highest scoring running back by the end of the day on Sunday. Other running backs you could look at, if you don't go with Lamar Jackson, you could look at Gus Edwards, because the game script could easily fall into handoffs for him. 6,600, number 1 running back for the Ravens. He's going to get 12 to 16 carries. Could easily find the end zone. That's only if you don't pick Lamar Jackson. If you pick Jackson, you do not want Gus Edwards. as a value play. And then Isaiah Pacheco looks fantastic as well in this, game script and matchup at Denver. The Chiefs should be up. Denver, probably the worst ranked defense in the entire NFL. Pacheco completely handling the number one duties now. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is an afterthought now. And then Jerick McKinnon, too. His stock has gone way down. It's really just been the Isaiah Pacheco show. He's been getting almost 20 touches every week, combined catches with rush attempts. So Pacheco looks good at 7,400. But Tony Pollard is definitely my favorite running back value as of right now. Going over to my website, you have to have an account on my website, fd-guru.com. You get free credit when you sign up. These credits get you everything. All the lineups I do, we got NBA back, so plenty of stuff to do. NBA is by far the busiest season of the year because it's every night and it requires a lot of research. Type in all caps Week 8 NFL. You'll get 15 free credits when you type in Week 8 NFL in all caps. It will say coupon successfully applied. Then you wait, and the page will reload itself as shown, and you'll get the credits automatically put into your balance. Again, just like this video, guys, and subscribe. Trying to get more eyes on my videos because I like helping you guys out, and I like doing giveaways whenever I can. So, again, thank you guys for, stopping by and giving my video a look. For wide receiver, we're going to pair, this was my pairing last week and it worked out. We're going to do it again because he's too cheap. Is Zay Flowers with Lamar Jackson. Flowers shouldn't be 6,500. He should be at least 7,000, if not more. He's their number one receiver. They have Mark Andrews, but he was in my video last week. And it's really just, you could quote me from last week's video. He's too cheap. He's the number one. It's a great matchup. He did all of his stuff in the first half. I don't think he even caught a pass in the second half because they didn't need to. It was a blowout. He had 4 catches for 75 yards, 9.5 fantasy points. He ended up getting there, but it could have been a lot more than that if the game was remotely close. I expect Flowers to have another big game on Sunday with Lamar Jackson. I love the idea of pairing them because if Lamar Jackson has a big game, he's probably throwing it to Mark Andrews or Zay Flowers. So I recommend pairing either Zay Flowers or Mark Andrews with Lamar Jackson. I'm just a little hesitant to do Mark Andrews because I think there's better value at tight end this week and not enough value at wide receiver. So Zay Flowers looks really good at 6,500. Tight end, there's a couple of guys I'm looking at, and it's George Kittle at 6,100. I think he's too cheap. At home against the Bengals, we got no Deebo Samuel. We saw his workload increase with no Samuel last week. 7 targets, 5 catches, 78 yards. As I always say, to get over 10 fantasy points as a tight end without a touchdown is extremely impressive. So, and then we obviously saw him have that huge 3-touchdown game a few weeks ago. So we know the ceiling's there. 6,100 is a really cheap price on an all-pro tight end like George Kittle with no Deebo Samuel. This Bengals defense does not scare me. They're ranked as one of the worst defenses in the league. I think George Kittle will be fine. A really, really good price on Kittle as a middle-tier option at tight end. But the guy I'm going to go with, cheap play. Way too cheap as the number one option. Jake Ferguson on the Cowboys. He has the most red zone, I saw this stat earlier, the most red zone targets over any tight end so far this year. Yes, over Travis Kelce, over George Kittle, over Mark Andrews. He's got a bunch of red zone targets. Had a tough week last week, so his price dropped, but he's still the number one tight end. He has 3 games with 7 targets. It's just too cheap. It's a great way to save money. This Rams defense isn't great. I think Dak Prescott's going to get him more involved on Sunday. He's got really no other backup tight end who steals any targets away from him. So, it's Dak Prescott throwing to CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup, and then Jake Ferguson. Ferguson's a top 3 option for Dak Prescott. Obviously, as a tight end, he's a red zone threat. I expect the Cowboys to be in the red zone a handful of times on Sunday against this Rams defense. As I said earlier, the The Cowboys are 6.5-point favorites, 45.5 over under, so they're going to get their points. And Ferguson could be a big reason why. I like having Ferguson. I like having Tony Pollard. Just a really good play at 4,900. We had David Njoku last week at 4,900, and he ended up seeing a bunch of targets. I like Jake Ferguson at this price for Week 8. And then for defense, I like to spend as little time on defense as possible. Save some money. Atlanta Falcons. This is the lowest over-under of the week at 35.5. We got the the Falcons at the Titans. The Falcons D is fine here. The Falcons are, 3-point favorites in the lowest over-under. So this defense should hold the Titans. The Titans are just garbage. Even though the Falcons defense isn't great, they have a premier matchup. As long as they can keep Derrick Henry in check, they'll have no problem scoring some fantasy points. They had a great week last week against the Bucs. Only allowed 13 points, got 11 fantasy points. They are ranked as the best value defense of the slate on Week 8. So Falcons D at 3,900, you get to save some money with this price. That'll do it for this video, guys. Again, give it a like, subscribe. Thanks for stopping by. Let's get after it. NBA season back. Get with me on that as well. And good luck on Sunday. Until next time, I am the FD Guru, and I'm signing off.